All right, welcome back to the second video in our series on importing a CSV file, and we're now getting more into the scripting part of it to explain how PartNester knows to put holes on this unfinished side and add a toe kick notch to this particular part. We use scripting for this. A scripting file is a file with a set of instructions that's going to tell PartNester how to handle something and produce something, kind of like a recipe in baking bread. So we're first going to take a look at where these script files are. We'll step through them. We're not going to get detailed into it now. We're just going to break it down and explain all the different aspects of the file. And then in a next video, we'll go through more detailed instructions on how to add a feature or go through and build this cabinet side from scratch to explain how we added that toe kick notch and how we're going to create those shelving holes, and then continue on building out a library of parts and add machinable features to each one of those parts that we have in our CSV file. So let's take a look at where those script files are. I'm going to go into the C drive, then Program Data, scroll down to PartNester, PartNester 3. We're going to keep diving a little bit deeper into those folders until we see a list of files and one here that says part scripts. There are a lot of files that we have in here, but for our project that we're using currently is only using two files. It is using the main file, and then it is also using the base sides. So if we open up the main VBS file, this is where all the work starts. I know it might look a little scary at the beginning, but it's hopefully by the end of the series, you're going to understand everything about this and be able to create your own. So the first set we have up here is a dimension call. These are variables. These variables are made up words. They could be named whatever you would like them to be named. They are not specific to anything. Later on, we are going to give that variable a value. For example, we have the perimeter layer that's specified here, and it is equal to perimeter. Going back over into PartNester, that is coming into play and being used when we create our toolpathing. So anything that has a DIM at the beginning with the made-up name, it could be whatever you want it to be, then we will later give it a value. So these are global variables that are outside of a scope of any individual routine. They are able to be read anywhere within what we're seeing. So once that value is given, it is always going to equal the perimeter until we change that, or ways that we can change that. So once we set the variables and made up variables, and you don't necessarily have to use these variables, these are the ones that are just here. Future videos are going to show us how we build this out. Then we have what is called a main routine. It is sub main. It starts with sub main and ends with an end sub. So we have a conditional statement that is here to explain a little bit more about what programming is and everything you need to know how to program something. You need to understand variables, understand conditional statements, and understand how to loop. Once those three things and items are understood, there really isn't anything that you can't make PartNester do. So what is happening here in this submain, a select case is a condition statement. It is going to be equal to the part name. Part name is what is being brought in from our CSV file. being brought in from our CSV file over in the part name. So when it gets down to an unfinished side, and we're working for unfinished right sides, is what that is looking for. So once part name is equal to side unfinished right, it is going to fall down into this condition here. Once it gets to this condition, it is calling up another file, loading another script file that is called base side. And also remember that I have base side written right down here. So we're going to take a look at what base side is doing. So base side is right here. So this is another subroutine that is called, and the name of this routine is base side. So starting with the main, once we hit a right side, it is going to then call the base side routine or subroutine that is found in the base side VBS file. Once it is here, we have a couple other subroutines that it is being called. One is the perimeter cut. This is what is drawing the outside shape in the toe kick. Then we have another that is called shelf holes. We scroll down here and we see this is what is calling up and creating the shelf holes. We have a loop in here that creates the same hole multiple times across the sheet based on the part X value and the Y value of that part. Here are those variables that we changed in the first video. We changed that to 3, although we used the menu item within PartNester to do so. And future videos are going to show how we're able to add setting values to the menu item within PartNester to make it easier to change once we get the script built out. So again, to recap, we start off with a main file. Once that CSV file is called up, this subroutine or this main script file is called every time a new part is nested. So as that part gets nested, it looks and brings in the part name. The part name here is a variable, and it is going to be equal to the part name that is in our CSV file. It is looking at the select case, which is a conditional statement. It is looking for a right side. Once we have the routine finds that part name is a right side, it is going to open up the base side VBS file and call the base side within that VBS base side file. Coming over to that file, we see there is the base side. It's going to call the perimeter cut, and then it's going to go and call the shelf holes and then be done. So I know that was a lot to cover, but the next videos are going to break it down bit by bit and make it hopefully a lot easier to understand by the time we get through these series of videos.